We are live. All right. What's going on, Hutch? Just exploring everything. How you guys doing tonight?
What's up, Hutch?
Can you guys hear us? Can you see us good? Is the background plain enough on my end? And that's about it.
Hutch, yeah, I'm glitchy or not, because it might be intermittent. We did lose power earlier today, twice as a matter of fact. So we don't know what's going on. Power grid.
Everything I'm watching over here on this side is going really slow. So Arkansas Living says it can't see or hear us. That's good. We can see and hear each other. So let's see here. Can anybody else hear us? Hutch, how about you? Can you hear us? We're just exploring, prepping outside the box. Says we're 5x5. Hutch says we're 5x5. Oh man, that's bad, man. Thanks, brother. Thanks for making me try to, start freaking out already. It's only been a minute since I've done a live, and I'm like, man, this piece of crap's already not working. I stayed at work so I could have reception.
Well, we're just for a little bit to let some people roll in and occupy this YouTube territory so we can get this going. But yeah, I threw out that short video about the smelling food on your fire for a little bit because I took the carcass from the turkey, and I had a really good fire going. It was really hot, and I knew it would just burn it all up. So I just dumped all the leftovers, the grease, the bird on there after I had picked it dry, picked the bones clean. And I tell you what, the smell was very intense, and I walked about 2 blocks because I was looking to see where the smoke was going, and it was like I was cooking a turkey right next to me. So, and I tell you what, someone who's hungry, or something out there that's hungry, they might. I think Mayberry had commented about 10 miles, and I think that's a bit of a good estimation.
That's pretty impressive. And I know even if you're not hungry, even if you've just been out for quite some time, say 2, 3, 4 weeks out in a certain area, and then you start getting used to, what's already around that area, and then you start smelling smoke and stuff like that or anything, it does travel quite a ways, and you'll pick up on it for sure. So that's a very good concept of a little short video there.
Yeah. So I would to alleviate that problem, I would probably don't cook at camp and make sure that you match that smoke somehow. And I'm sure there's ways to do it. Cooking, having a fire by a tree, it'll dissipate the smoke a little bit differently, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, there's certainly some way you could cook over, like you said, for the smoke, you could do the leaves, but surely, we should do some experimenting on that, I guess, is to try to, kill the smell a little bit as we cook outside, try to, see if we can dissipate the smell. I like cooking outside, so I'll do it as a little thing. Surely there's some way to kind of knock it down just a little bit, but man, I know I can, as soon as I will get out of my vehicle in the driveway, I can smell the food in the house, and I'm plenty chunky, so it's not like I'm hungry looking for food.
maybe small contained very hot fires that will that doesn't put off very much smoke, because essentially the gases that are coming out of the wood, if it's real wet, you're going to have a lot of smoke. If if it's a real green, there's a lot of green still, you're going to have a lot of smoke. And basically just cut down on that, and maybe limit the amount of time that you're out there cooking. Have everything all prepped, ready to go, throw it on there. Those hobo dinners, you throw it in oil, maybe that'll kind of reduce some of the smell because it's all contained with inside that tin foil.
Well, yeah, and the seasonings, if you're not putting a whole bunch of seasonings on them, or whatnot, or like prepping outside the box that eat raw, we'll try that.
Sushi.
Tiger 4, yeah, Tiger 454, what's up? Homesteading in the Heartland. How's the weather up there in North Dakota? Man, it's been beautiful here, dude. God dang. We got Ohio Prepper. Sorry, I just want to run through these real quick. Heartland, Leslie, Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death. Everybody, thanks a lot for showing up. So I don't know, man. You want to just roll into kind of what we were talking about doing? Because I want to really try to keep this to an hour or a little bit less, because right after this, we're going to hop over to Hutch.
Yeah.
Hutch Homestead is going to be doing a live, and I want to make sure we are off in time for him, because I didn't realize he was doing a live today until I spoke with him the other day, and I don't want to mess it up and get into his time any. So I think we should roll into this.
I'm totally fine. Welcome, campers. We're this is very improv to something AJ and I are going through scenario based situations, and kind of having to reflect on it, and maybe getting a little bit of backstory on some of these true stories.
Yeah, and basically, I said in the description, but we are not. We're just doing this for fun. I'm not an expert on survival, nothing like that, or anything. This is just for fun. We're gonna kind of see. We'll paint. One of us will, paint kind of a picture of the background of what had happened, and kind of go through it and say, kind of what had happened, and then kind of what we would have done in that situation, and then by the end of it, we'll talk about, the hindsight of it, what you could have done differently to, avoid this situation or make this situation better, all in all. So that's kind of, and I don't know if we'll go into avoiding the situation, because we really want to just talk about the situations. So, we'll paint the picture of, the hindsight of, what we could have done to make the situation better had we ended up in this situation.
Right. And it's just flexing that mental muscle, and that's one of those key things that this will kind of help you do, is go through those mental exercises on your situation and playing through scenarios. It's very healthy.
Right. Hey, K Marie, what's up? So on that note there, Harlan, wasn't there, you were talking about, somebody was saying, like, literally people are born, you already got that drive. Hey, Jan, what's up, honey? You already got that drive when you're born to survive, or, everything like that. So what was that? You were telling me about kind of like a little theory or explanation behind that, to where you have this certain thing in your head that makes you do better in that survival situation, and basically practicing and, flexing them brain muscles to keep working, and to keep working on scenarios like this helps you. Just like when you train, you train to shoot, you train to punch, you train all these other things, training that brain muscles is the same kind of concept.
Yeah, it was a retired Air Force director of aviation, or combat aviation. He said that everybody's born with the will to survive, and but it's like a muscle, and it has to be nurtured, and you have to train it, and you have to build it up. So
right.
It's definitely one of those things. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Right. So hopefully doing this type of a thing will help us all do that, because we can look in the comments as we're doing this, hopefully, and, get some other ideas from people, and, just everything that does help you while you're doing these type of things. So, yeah. All right. That's kind of why we're doing this and how we're doing this, I suppose. So I'm going to let you paint that picture there, Harlan. You got your nice little...
I got a few notes. I've got a few notes. I read through this article a couple of times, and I think it's very fitting for our scenario-based thing here. It was the man's name is Aaron Ralston, and I'm sure everybody's heard of this man. They're making a movie, 127 days, or 127 hours. Excuse me. And he is an avid outdoorsman. He's very experienced. He's very athletic, and on in 2000, I think it was in March 2003, Aaron, he decided to go on a solo trek just to clear his head, and um, it turned out to be the pivotal, life-changing moment for him, because he ended up having to amputate his own hand, his right hand. And here is a little bit of what happened on that day, and I'm just going to get through it pretty quick. So put on your listening ears, boys and girls. 27-year-old Aaron Ralston. He drove his truck to Horseshoe Canyon Trailhead west of Colorado, Canyonlands National Park in southeastern Utah. Okay. That's where he parked his bike and tethered it to a tree and hiked the rest of the way in. By 2:45, Ralston had started a solo descent into a deep, narrow slot of Blue John Canyon, passing over and then under boulders that clogged the 3-foot-wide penumbral passage. Ralston was negotiating a 10-foot drop between two ledges when an 800-pound boulder shifted above him. He was able to snatch his left hand out of the way, but his right hand was smashed and pinned between the rock and the sandstone wall. So that's where he is for the next 5 days, is stuck in this spot. And if you want to add anything to it, my man?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And that is not a good place for a person to be.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll add into that. So he did, and I know this is we're trying to paint somewhat of a serious scenario, but I had a good giggle because my wife said, what had happened was, when he fell down into there, he had to chip away at that rock for like over 15 hours. He chipped away at that rock with a really cheap pocket tool and a dull knife. He was just chipping away at that forever. And then he tried to make a makeshift pulley to lift that rock, which I thought was only once, but Heartland let me know that was twice that he actually did that and it failed. So that's when he started talking to himself about, other options. He talked about literally to himself many times of, well, am I going to commit suicide? And then after he ruled out that drastic option, he started saying, I'm going to have to cut off my arm. No, man, don't do that. He went back and forth with himself to the point to where he was even saying, stop talking to yourself. That's just crazy. Except then he'd go right back to talking to himself, which, in that situation, I could see exactly why, he would do something like that. But that kind of, I guess for now, that kind of paints the picture of what had happened. And he ended up, carving through his arm. I guess we should have put like a disclaimer too, because it's kind of gory. Sorry, guys. Anybody that's listening, if you want to bounce. But anyways, he started cutting through his flesh. He had his arm in a bind in the rock, and he figured out as he moved a little bit that he had gotten it to where he figured he could actually snap his own bones by just, using enough force and breaking through the bones as well, using what had trapped him in that position. So he managed to cut through there, break his own bones, and escape the situation. He crawled back up through that ravine and down, what was it, like 65 foot?
I think from what I've been doing, I think it was a full descent. So he had to descend further down to a creek, or the base of the canyon, or the crack that he was in. And it was an extra 60 feet to rappel. But then it was towards the end of the journey, as he was coming out, after he was done, he was coming out, he would have had to climb up a pretty steep, I don't know how far it was up to his truck, but a helicopter had come through, and so at that point he didn't have to do anything else. So
I think he found 3 people that were hiking or something, I think, that were able to call in help for him. I believe, anyways, or it may have been a helicopter. Not sure on that. We're not history buffs either, or not necessarily history buffs. We aren't experts in this field, but something to that, extreme. But do you want to go first, or you want me to go first on, like what we would have done in that situation, same type of tools? And once again, guys, this is just for fun. We're not experts. We're not suggesting by any means to do anything we do. Please don't actually do anything we say.
I want to tell you a little bit about, we got to reflect on him and what he had kind of like maybe thought to bring with him, like his inventory, because this guy's obviously experienced. He's got a very impressive resume of climbing mountains, summits, solo. He went through an avalanche. Actually, him and a friend were buried in an avalanche, and he saved that months prior to this happening. So
Jeez.
he was able to escape that. But he was no rookie, and so for him to go and do that is something you need to look at. About remember what was in his backpack? How much food did he have? How much water? He had 2 burritos,
2 burritos, 1 liter,
and a little cheap Leatherman. And I think they had mentioned some crumbs from a candy bar.
Yeah. Milkmaid. It's Aaron. Hardly can you say his last name, because I'll completely ruin it. I'm not good at pick that.
It's Ralston.
Ralston, punctuating.
Aaron Ralston.
Not good at punctuating.
Yeah.
So yeah, he had very little on him at that time.
Yeah. Seasoned mountaineer, mechanical engineer. He had a master's degree in mechanical engineering. He made a few fatal mistakes, and I think his first one was maybe being complacent and letting his ego, take over and say, "Oh, I got this. I'm just going to be a day. I've done way more. I've gone through bigger things. This is going to be a cakewalk," So I think that might have been a huge error in one of his plans at the very beginning of the trek. And also, not to mention, he didn't tell anybody where he was going, when he was going to get back. He didn't carry the phone. He did. Okay, so that kind of sets him up for failure right there.
Right.
And it dramatically increases the risk of something happening where you're not going to make it out. But by divine intervention, he was able to pull his mind together, because he was going in and out of depression. Obviously he was fatigued because he was standing. He couldn't lay down, he couldn't sit down, he was standing the whole time.
Right.
So high dehydration, all kinds of things were setting in for this guy. And so not at one point did he ever mention, or that I know of, unless there's a documentary somewhere, maybe it's in the movie. I doubt it, but I don't know. We'll see. Nowhere did they mention he tried sharpening his knife, because he explained it was like cutting with the backside of a butter knife.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the backside of a butter knife. That's how dull the thing was, because he had scraped away. And I'm sure sandstone, you could probably get some sort of an edge if you sit long enough going in circles, and you can probably sharpen that knife somewhat on a rock near.
Sandstone you could, I believe you could easily. But yeah, you could. I'd at least give it a shot anyways. I would have tried. That would have at least been part of it. But hell, what would you if you were in that exact same scenario, what would you have done? Would you just pretty much done what he did, or what would you have done in that situation with exactly what he had and exactly verbatim what happened?
Yeah. I can tell you, I don't know if I would be able to cut my hand off, but I know that my will to survive is very strong. So, would it? Yeah, I probably would. If it's if it's the same training, if it's this, if like with my knowledge of the Stop the Bleed,
Mm-hmm.
he did use the tubing from his Camelback as a tourniquet.
Yep.
He had that going for him. He knew some things, and I would have been thinking the same way. Except I would have been looking to sharpen that knife so I can get through it a little faster, or without as much pain. Because he said the most painful part, excuse me, folks, was him cutting through the nerves.
Right.
And I guess he had to use the little pliers on the tendons. So it took him an hour to amputate. But oh yeah, yeah. It's one of those things that will, you by divine intervention, you'll make it, and the will to make it out.
Right.
Because he kept trying, and I would have kept trying different options, But after a certain amount of time, you got to ultimately accept what's coming. The worst part about it is that it's marching right for you, and you're looking right at it. The inevitable.
Yeah.
And you've got to face that and the pain and all that other stuff. So it would definitely be a game changer for the rest of your life if you made it. But I would accept it too. I would accept fate. I would accept death. Pretty much already have. So yeah, every day is a bonus, by the way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree there, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I could have done it, but maybe. Now, if I was in that same situation, 100% in that same situation, yeah, I definitely would have kept trying everything, exhausted everything before I even humored the idea of cutting off my arm. I think he had the idea of cutting off his arm well before he even got into trying to move the rock with his hoisting system that he'd came up with. But he's an educated guy and an experienced guy, so he probably knew it wasn't going to work. I probably would have exhausted myself a lot more trying to utilize that pulley system, and definitely would have tried to space out bite by bite, as little as possible, what little food I had and what little water I had, to try to, and especially if you have that in your mind that you're going to have to cut off your arm, try to save every last drop of that for when you actually do dive into that, because I would think, just from some other painful experiences, that you get extremely thirsty when you're, for whatever reason, I did anyways, when you're hurt bad, you get really thirsty, it seems like, and it's almost unquenchable. So I would personally try to save that water over as long as possible. I would, and I don't know if this is any better either, but I've butchered a lot of stuff, so I seen kind of where he had his arm cut off, which, dang it, I love this camera. So it was like right in here-ish, it looked like. And you're already cutting off your arm. So I think I put the tourniquet up higher and try to cut around the arm so I wouldn't have to break the bones. I'd cut around all them joints and find. It sounds a lot easier saying it, but I don't know that I could actually do it. But I'd find them joints and cut around it, and get it to pop free and pop off of there, versus cutting around your arm and then breaking one pretty large bone right in here. I would think that's a pretty good sized bone, and then the other one I think is small, but I broke a lot of bones. Man, it hurts.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. What if it would have broke up further, or
right,
something like that? And actually, if you sat there and you thought about it long enough, and after a day or two, the rock has done so much damage, you're probably going to lose your hand anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So after a day or two of your hand being crushed, it's already starting to decompose, because there's no blood going to it. It's everything's smashed right there. So I would have been starting to think about cutting it off way sooner than 5 days.
Yeah. In fact, one of the parts where I was reading, he said when he cut through part of that, the smell was horrific. So
right.
But we know from tourniquets that you can spin those things, which I don't know about what he put on, but like our tourniquets, you can spin them things, so you about can't feel your arm anyways.
That's
but
true.
I don't know if that makes it any easier. But
right.
anyways, we'll kind of keep rolling. Sorry to push on this a little bit, but I keep looking at the clock, and I want to make sure that we stay on time with this because I don't want to run over into Hutch. Let's do hindsight, brother. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first on hindsight? Like
hindsight.
What we would do.
Roll with it.
Me? Oh boy. Okay. Obviously I have no experience rock climbing. I live in Kansas. I have experience climbing up trees and falling out of trees. So that's not the gist of it. I guess I walked along rocks up at Canopolis Lake, and I've managed to sprain my ankles on them. So once again, don't listen to anything I say on this situation. This is for fun. Hindsight on this, I would have told someone for sure, multiple someones, that I do it even, but I'm married, I make sure my wife knows. And a lot of times I even tell my buddies, hey, I'm going out hunting this weekend, and I don't do it thinking if I don't come back, come looking for me. But, I do let people know that I'm going. I would probably, if I was going to that type of a area where he was at, I would personally take somebody with me just in case. That way,
agreed.
If something did happen, you got somebody. Even if you break your ankle, you got somebody with you. They've got GPS satellite watches. I don't know much about those. I've just seen them, and it looks like they've got locating devices on them, and actually like a SOS kind of a device on it. So I think that would be good. Hey, Nisi, what's up? I would also have a cell phone. Now, do you have reception out there? Don't know, but at least have it with me. Keep your tools sharp. We all, don't wait till your knife's dull to start sharpening it, kind of maintenance them. It actually is a lot better on your blade from what I've seen. Carry a real tourniquet. I always carry a real tourniquet anyways. I don't know. That's about what I would do. Hindsight differently. And then if I fell down in there, hindsight on that, and I got stuck and I did not have any of those things with me, at least, if you have your tourniquet and everything else like that, and you didn't have somebody with you, you can still do exactly what he did, get out for the day. Maybe even have, I don't know, some kind of flare gun. I don't know if that's logical or just some random thought, but plus I don't know how good that would do shooting up at a cavern anyways. You might, bounce off the cave and be right back on you, and then you got burning flesh on top of being stuck. So that might be a bad idea. So that was hindsight. That's what I do, man. Make sure you got people with you, or take ways of communicating, take better ways to keep yourself out of trouble. So,
right. So hindsight is that I probably wouldn't be going through canyons like that to begin with, because I'm not a risk seeker. I would have probably found a different way, because it was a shortcut, is what he is talking about. It was a shortcut, and
right.
I would have found a different way to that shortcut, even though I'm experienced, let's just say, or whatever. That's where his complacency came into being. It's because as soon as we talked about coming up with this scenario in this individual case, he should have known about those rocks, where you're putting your hands, where you're setting your anchors, how you're rappelling, what you're going to be doing, and to brush that off to the side and not think about that. Especially like you said, he didn't bring anybody with him. I would have brought somebody with me. He didn't have any matches. He didn't have very much food. He didn't have near enough water. a 1 liter, and he had already spent a day out there, and he was going to be hiking for a day
Yeah.
on 1 liter of water.
Not this guy.
That
Too
is so
much.
ill prepared. And again, it comes back to, I think he was just, he thought he could handle it. Piece of cake.
Right.
So, and yes, big knife, sharpen that son of a bitch. Keep that son of a bitch sharp. In other tools, I'd probably go with too much gear.
Yeah, that would be my problem too.
I'd probably go with too much shit. You're like, well, I know what not to bring next time because I was only out for a day, you know. But
Right.
wrestling with some of that psychological stuff that he went through would be. I think I got a good game on that. I've been through some pretty tough psychological situations. Not pinned under a rock for no, but you know, I've gone through, got lost in the woods up by Canada, and
Oh,
where I was being tracked by a cougar, man. You know, you get those little spider senses tingling on the back of your
oh
neck.
yeah, definitely.
It's that predator and prey kind of sixth sense. You feel like you're being watched, and it was the season for cougars, and it was man. So I did end up finding my way out, and I had made that mistake. I went alone, and yeah, I had a phone though. I could have called, but anyway. So yeah, there was there's. Do you think we've beat that dog or picked that chicken enough, or?
I don't know, because like our Kansas Living said, you know, cutting off deer legs, you know, and thinking about it, you know, after I made that statement, you know, going around there, my wife and I have cut up a lot of deer over the years, and I still have troubles going around that joint just right sometimes. So, yeah, either way, it sucks, man. That dude, you know, he's a badass, that's for sure. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting story. If anybody has time to read it or whatever, I'd like to see the movie. I know in the article I was reading, they said that they kind of changed some of it, but you know, basically all of it's true except for like there's like I guess a water scene or a swimming scene in there where he meets some girls and they go swimming or whatever on the trail, but they did, you know, a couple things like that to just keep people's attention a little bit better than just him walking alone along the trail alone the whole time or whatever. So
yeah,
I think it'd be pretty interesting to watch, though.
Yeah, it's definitely a very inspiring story of the will to survive, and yeah, there's kind of there's been a lot of psychologists that studied these situations, and especially his case too, because they're like, how dude, how did you even last 5 days of?
Yeah.
And there's been I think it was Al Siebert. He's an ex paratrooper, and he's an author, and he wrote the book the Survival Personality, and basically it just kind of it goes over when a horrible situation happens, a survival immediately accepts the situation and consciously decides that he will make it through no matter what. So this guy obviously had in his heart the will to survive, and he was a survivor. So he fits that profile, like in his heart or in his mind. He's like, I'm ready, because he's been through situations before.
Right.
And they have the ability to. This is what he was explaining about people who have a will, that instinctive will to survive, the ability to rationally accept those situations, and you know, come to that real not realization, but just like the circumstances. Okay, I'm in it now. What do I do? Keep moving. Keep planning. Keep coming up with different ways to get out of it, and that according to him dramatically increases someone's chance of surviving a situation. And if it's like a combination of being uh, optimistic but still a little pessimistic. And where was it? Oh, I got something here that was really good about that. Let's see. It's the oh, it's by the same guy. It's he wrote that after adjusting to new circumstances, survivors start looking very hard, but also very imaginatively for solutions. And he calls it integrated problem-solving behavior. And he goes on to explain it's a mixture of left brain thinking, logic, linear, and Mr. Spock, and right brain thinking, intuitive, creative, and lots of leaps of faith. So it's a combination, it's a synchronized of both left and right brain. They're working together instead of the fight or flight, where the left brain karate chops your other side and you get the F out of wherever situation you are in. So
Right.
that's what he was explaining, and that I think this guy is a perfect candidate for that. He was left thinking. He was thinking logically. He was also creative. Making pulleys and all that stuff. He was able to calm himself down, and until the very end, where he had that vision. I was watching an interview. He said he had a vision on the 5th day when he accepted death. He was like, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow. Said all his goodbyes, carved something in the wall, like his date of birth and something else.
Mm-hmm.
And basically he had the vision where he saw him playing with a blonde toddler, and he had no right hand. And when he come out of that vision, he was pissed. Like, I just saw a picture of what my future can be. Maybe I still got a chance. And that's when he was thrashing, and he felt the two bones move. And then he got the idea, I'm going to leverage and break them and get out of Dodge.
Right. Yeah, it's a terribly interesting story. Ohio Prepper said it's 127 hours and it can be watched on Hulu. I don't have Hulu, but I
didn't watch the trailer. I went straight to an old documentary that it was like a PBS old right after it happened, and it was
right.
his story. It was about 15-minute long interview with the guy, and then I found some really badass articles on him too. There's
a ton of stories out there. He's a speaker now, and a motivational speaker, and does all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Hutch asked, "Hey, what's up, Prepper Tribe? How you doing?" Hutch asked what we would do if it was your leg. Whew. So I've crushed my femur before, and that wasn't very nice.
Leg, you're in one spot. You have both hands though, so now you've got more options instead of just one, and especially it's your dominant hand. And but there's the leg now, you got to crawl your ass out of there if you do get it. So, ooh man, crutch after you get it off, and start crutching it. But then he had to do the repel. You can repel with one leg.
Yeah, leg would be a tough one. I mean, or any limb is a tough one, but a leg, whew, boy, that's a lot of meat and bone.
That guy still repelled out of there with one arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it's an arm or a leg we're talking about, give me the leg.
Yeah, that's wow. Like I said, I've crushed my femur before, and that was pretty bad. So for me to try to cut a leg off, man, that'd probably take me an extra day to get through that sucker. But there's a lot of better ways, I guess, to deal with it than, like you said, you got both your arms. Hopefully you're in such a way that you're not standing and trapped, so you can't at least relax your other leg at some point. But
or hanging from it, man.
Or hanging, yeah. Oh, that'd be even worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I can see that happening if you're like up in a deer stand or something and you fell out of it. And I mean, I've fell forward through like coyote holes before out in the pasture, and it felt like my leg was gonna break. So yeah, if you like fell off a tree and you went forward and snapped that sucker, then you're hanging upside down or whatever. So you'd have to reach up and then try to cut it free. And then once it finally gets free, then yeah, you're just straight down on your head, man.
Yeah,
and that's a femoral artery, so you better make real sure you got that tourniquet real tight, I would assume. I mean, depending on what part of your leg, I guess, but if you get up there where that big artery is, you'd have to have that sucker make sure it's really, don't mess that one up. I guess if you do mess it up, you ain't gonna know for very long because it would bleed out so fast you wouldn't even know it hit you.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, just Josh, what's up, man?
Josh,
tonight.
Welcome. So yeah, there's a couple of key points here, and that's you're having the psychology and the will to survive, and just keeping calm, because panic will kill you. And I think that's really what got him through the worst of it, is just staying calm. So
yeah.
And it says here, I was reading this. It's I would butcher this guy's last name, Peter. He's a professor of psychology at the University of British Columbia, and he's researched survival psychology for more than 40 years. All right, and he puts it this way: beyond the fundamental will to survive, the foremost characteristic trait of a survivalist or survivor is intellectual flexibility. So this comes from a top dog at the who studies these types of people. People under high stress are more likely to become rigid, which only decreases their chances of survival.
Makes sense.
Even in a jam, survivors are extremely adaptable people. So be adaptable. They know how to improvise. Improvise is awesome. Adapt, improvise, and overcome. Right? Prepping outside the box.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If one solution doesn't work, they always try another one. And then if that doesn't work, they try another one. They don't fixate on one answer. Okay. And they keep an open mind, searching for options and deploying or developing strategy. Excuse me. There are two other important survival indicators: optimism and unflappability. Never heard of that word before, but I guess it's a thing. True optimists recognize that their predicament is temporary. Okay, so it's temporary. I can get through it. Isolate the problem. Understand, even if they haven't found a solution yet, it doesn't mean that there isn't one. And recognize that they do have a modicum of control over their fate. I think that's awesome. And the other one, unflappability, basically means is to be excuse me, I need some water or something. Tolerate bizarre experiences without freaking out. Okay, it's the old cliche, panic will kill you. And there are only 3 ways to cope in tough situations. I love this. Leave the environment, change the environment, or change your attitude. I love that.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
Change your attitude to fit the environment.
That's being unflappable. I am not flappy.
I've never heard that before, but there you go. Learn something new every day.
Situation flappable.
I think changing the situation
with that word.
Yeah, no kidding. I think changing your attitude or whatever for the situation would probably be about the best thing, because once you're already in the situation, you're kind of there for the most part. Talking like what we're talking about, survival situations. So you might as well just go ahead and change your attitude to whatever it's going to be, to make sure your mindset's correct for doing what it needs to be done. Whether it's lobbing off that arm or the leg, like Hutch said, or if making just crazy climbs or whatever. That's put your mindset to it that you can do it no matter what it is. Easier said than done, of course, but the human body's crazy, man. What it can and can't, what it can go through and what it can survive from and what it can heal back from. You see people with these crazy wounds or injuries and stuff like that. My wife and I have both had some actually pretty nasty ones, and to see how the body's healed back from those, it's pretty crazy. And so it makes you realize that you just never push yourself to that extreme, because your mind first tells you, because of all your training as a child, hey, don't do that, you're going to get hurt. So you don't push yourself through those extremes a lot of times to where you get injured like that, unless you're doing Jackass movies or something like that, or people like that do, of course. But normal people don't do that type of thing, so they don't get to see constantly how good the human body repairs itself. So I think if you're in a survival situation, and you just can't keep that in mind too, that your body's you're tough, you're really truly tough, you can get through a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit about this guy. And I mean, would he have, here's something, would he have been able to save his arm if he had told a friend, or if he had someone with him, or, if he had better gear? Would he have been able to save his hand?
I think if he had a friend with him, possibly, because they could have went for help. I mean, it depends on how much damage was done to the hand, but he'd still probably have it. It might be a little mangled up or roughed up, or look like he's 90-year-old with horrible arthritis. But personally, I think he could have saved his hand if he had a friend with him, and the bottom half of his arm, for multiple reasons. I mean, even when he was making his
buddy of mine was in a roll.
What was that? Sorry,
you cut out a little bit, and I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you had stopped.
No, I think I did, and then you talked, and then I think it interrupted. That's a great thing when they start interrupting, or when the videos start breaking up.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine was in a rollover accident, and his hand was coming out of the sunroof or something like that, and it kept getting smashed on the road. And they were able to save it by basically grafting his hand into his abdomen, because it kept blood flowing to it, and they had to reconstruct basically his whole hand because it was just mangled and smashed. He's gone through like 7 surgeries. He'll never type on a typewriter or keyboard. He'll never frame again. He lost all function, but he can still move his thumb and do a few other things. But they saved it to the point where he has a little bit of grip, and he can move fingers.
Nice.
They've been taking bone fragments out of his hip, taking little pieces here and there, piecing his fingers back together, but they were able to save it. And so, yeah, you're right. The body can jump back. If he had a friend there, here's the thing. About the rock. It was an 800-pound boulder that over for how many hundreds of years it was sitting there. Decided that one day where he was near it, shifted, stuck his hand, bam. Okay, freak of nature, freak accident. It took 13 rangers, went back in there, and I think they used a 12-ton jack, hydraulic jack, to push the rock to retrieve the hand. So
wow.
He wasn't moving that rock. Yeah.
Jeez, I did not know all that. Wow.
Yeah. 13 park rangers
crazy, man.
With a hydraulic jack, and it was a 12-ton jack to move that rock.
Jeez. Yeah, I was getting ready to try to look up on the computer here. Hutch was asking if that was a flood area too, or in an area that had flash floods, because it seems like it would be.
Yes, he was concerned about that. It's the Utah desert, man.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So yeah, Hutch, there you go. It was. What's up, Tiger 454? How we doing?
What's up, folks? We'll be wrapping it up here like real soon. Looks like. I hope it was enjoyable. This is new for me.
Why even mess getting the hand? They probably had. Maybe so that somebody else didn't get it, I don't know, get down in there to smell it. I guess I don't know. They probably were potentially just trying to get a hazard out of there. I guess because it's human flesh, so it is a biohazard. And if that's the area people actually go,
they gave it to him, and he had it cremated, and I guess he went back and dumped the ashes right there. So
wow.
He went back with some friends this time.
Yeah, I bet.
Because
I bet he did.
It belongs here, so he spread the ashes out there. So
yeah, I doubt he goes much anywhere out in nature anymore without having a friend or two with him.
Yeah.
Critters got to eat too. Yeah. So real quick, I just want to ask everybody that's in here, what'd you guys think about it? Is it something that, you guys would like to see us do more of, find more of these? And because we both find a great interest in it, and I think it's fun to do something like this. Do you guys think we should keep finding these and doing little clips like this, little hindsights? And also, maybe we should look at a different day. I know Hutch said Heartland said Tuesdays and Thursdays is best for him, so we'll probably try to stick in that day. But let us know what you think in the comments of what y'all think we should do, or if you know one and you like what this is, let us know if you like one that you've seen somewhere and we can go look it up. I know I've looked up several other ones already, just because when I started talking to Heartland about this, man, it really caught my attention, and I really wanted to just keep looking for these and going through these and kind of seeing these different scenarios, and I thought it'd be fun to talk them through and do that type of thing. So let us know in the comments. Everybody make sure they get over to Hutch Homestead's live. He's doing his right after this. He's probably already on there ready to go, and we will be back on here another day. Sorry, I'm getting interrupted by somebody at the door. Funny look now, because nobody expects me here this late, especially to be sitting here talking. So
that's fine.
Anyways, this is the only place I can get real good reception, man. So I decided I'm going to come back to work so I can make sure and get this. Now, hopefully in the next week or two, I'll be looking at a different phone so that we can get reception out of the house and not worry about having to go into town just to be able to use the phone and things like that,
Sounds good, bud. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Listen to us talk about this. It's been fun.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. Thank you for
really enjoyed researching some of this stuff too. So
Yeah, I hear you there. I appreciate you coming on here with me, man. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed doing the research on it. So we'll get to getting off of here. Y'all have a good night. And Heartland, I'll talk to you again, regardless of what they say. I'm probably going to do some more with you on this. So we'll be hitting you up again, brother.
Right on, brother. Take care, man.
All right, man. Yep, y'all stay safe.
Have a good night, folks.
And looky there, Hutch. I even made it under an hour. There you go, buddy. Take it easy, brother.